So glad you're with us. I'm Eric Connors.
And I'm Neda Irampour. And right now we are staying on top of breaking news. We are getting word of an officer-involved shooting.
Yes, we can tell you multiple agencies are on the scene, so we want to check in right now with CBS 8's Dana Marie McNichol. She joins us live from the scene there, and we understand that at least one law enforcement officer was injured in this.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Good morning to you both. We're learning last night around 10:20 a shooting involving an officer happened. Now we are learning that that officer was hurt, but we don't know if it's a deputy or a police officer. So this morning we have pretty preliminary information. Of course, we're gathering as much as we can from you, but what we do know is a suspect is hurt. So the Sheriff's Media Department did confirm that there was a critical incident that happened around 10:20 last night. Now I'm on the corner of Deckard and Ballard Street, still an active scene. Multiple agencies are here. We have the El Cajon Police Department and the Sheriff's Department on scene. We do know that the confirmed suspect was hurt. So two pieces of information. A member of law enforcement was shot, but it's unclear if it's a deputy or a police officer, and that suspect was hurt in this involved shooting. Of course, investigation will be going on, I'm sure, for a couple of hours into the morning. So if this is part of your morning commute, we are about a couple of blocks east of downtown El Cajon here on Decker and Ballard. Do take note that the street behind me is closed. We're going to be here all morning long gathering as much information we can on this officer-involved shooting here in El Cajon, so stick with us. We'll bring you updates. I'm Dana Marie McNichol. I'll send it back to you.
Dana Marie, thank you so much for that update. And today could mark a big turning point now in the fight against the COVID pandemic.
Governor Gavin Newsom is expected to unveil the next phase of the state's response here. There are talks about a possible endemic strategy. CBS 8's Chris Groh live with a closer look at what this endemic would look like here. Chris?
Yeah, good morning, Eric and Neda. And a lot of people may be wondering what exactly an endemic is compared to a pandemic and how a response might differ. Well, Governor Gavin Newsom expected to lay out the state's response that we could potentially see developing within the next several months, because, again, a timeline does not mean that we are going to see this all of a sudden switch to an endemic tomorrow. This is likely something that is several months away. But, again, we will be hearing from Governor Gavin Newsom later on this afternoon. And what we expect to hear from this plan is that it will emphasize flexibility. Will still include quarantines and testing of those who don't show symptoms and other precautions, but those safeguards are now going to vary on a number of factors, like what the current variant is that is the majority of cases. Is it a serious variant, or is it simply just more transmissible? Now, for some of you at home, you may be asking, what is an endemic and how does it differ from a pandemic? Well, a pandemic is an epidemic of a disease that has spread beyond one region, and in this case, the world. Well, an endemic is when that disease now is common but becomes more manageable and part of everyday life. Now, we spoke with a pair of infectious disease experts up in Northern California to talk about how far away we could potentially be.
In the early spring and later spring, we're going to be dealing with a period of relatively highly immune population, much higher than we've ever had throughout the pandemic, and a disease level that's much lower than where we are right now.
And as for when you can expect to hear from Governor Gavin Newsom on this plan, well, that'll be happening later on this afternoon. 3:15 p.m. right now is the scheduled time, but you can always stay up to date on our social media channels and on our website, cbs8.com. Eric and Neda.
All right, Chris, thanks for that. New federal guidelines on masks could soon be coming. The CDC is cautiously optimistic about the downward trend in Omicron cases. The agency could loosen its indoor masking guidance as early as next week. Now, here in California, as you know, they already lifted restrictions for vaccinated people yesterday. CDC Director Rochelle Walensky says the agency is considering new benchmarks for masking based on levels of severe illness and hospital capacity. Right now, though, the CDC is still encouraging masks indoors to keep infection rates low. The city of San Diego is facing another lawsuit over its COVID vaccine mandate for city employees. The citizens group Reopen San Diego says the mandate is unconstitutional and indiscriminatory. Last month, local first responders filed a similar lawsuit over the city's mandate. They cited public safety concerns if unvaccinated first responders quit or are fired.
And turning now to Russia. Russia has released videos claiming to show their troops withdrawing from the Ukrainian border. But the U.S. State Department says the threat of an invasion still remains high and that the U.S. sees more Russian forces in the area, not fewer. Today, Vice President Kamala Harris will head to Germany to take part in the Munich Security Conference and show support for NATO allies and for Ukraine. The crisis in Eastern Europe is pushing up crude oil prices, which means, yes, you are paying more at the pump, a lot more. Look at that. In fact, here in San Diego, we just broke the record for the average cost of a gallon of regular gas. It is now at its highest ever, $4.72 a gallon. That's up about $1.20 from 1 year ago. This is where we used to be when we said things were high. The average price statewide is almost the same, making California now the home of the highest average gas prices in the entire country. AAA says other reasons behind the price spike is increased demand and the switch to the more expensive summer blend.
A local state lawmaker is pushing for an audit of those high SDG&E bills. North County Assemblywoman Tasha Berner Horvath is working on an audit request for SDG&E and the California Public Utilities Commission. Her office says they will let us know when a hearing is scheduled. State Senate President Pro Tem Toni Atkins also says she is working to get answers on this. One energy expert we spoke with says ratepayers need to continue putting pressure on leaders.
Stay fired up. Call your political representatives because the political representatives ultimately oversee that commission.
CBS 8 will continue to regularly check in with our leaders in Sacramento, and we will report back any updates. Remember, you can text the word AMPED to 858-571-8888 to see all of our recent amped up coverage or to give your feedback to SDG&E.
Okay, let's take you live now to Mount Laguna. Oh, there's still snow. It's a little bit.
Yeah, about half the roof's melted here.
Right.
Yeah.
So yesterday, that whole area, as you may remember, covered in snow. But there's still some patches right there on the side of the road. So they cleared out the roadways. So it's not completely gone yet. That's the view from Laguna Mountain Lodge. And then let's show you what it looked like yesterday. Some San Diegans drove out to enjoy the first significant snowfall of the new year. I mean, of this year.
Right.
It was a welcome sight for many business owners up in the mountains in more ways than one.
Economically, it helps, yes, and it's going to be a terrible summer if we don't get some moisture in these trees, so it's a good thing for the fire for this summer, too.
Yes, moisture, please, please. Those are fun. Look at those little blow-up things.
Looks like the dinosaur won the battle on that one.
Yeah, some schools in the area did have to close yesterday, as we were reporting, because of the snow and the icy roads. This morning, both the Julian Union Elementary and high school districts will have a late start. Speaking of snow, here's a picture of the so-called snow moon. Yeah, that's what it's called. Yesterday, it was at its peak. Chris Manarino sent us this picture of the moon over the University of San Diego. This was last night. I love the positioning, Chris. Wow, way to go.
Awesome. Like a golden halo over the university there.
Look at that architecture at
That's super
USD.
cool.
That building is beautiful.
That was not shot with an iPhone 8.
I know. As much as they like to advertise it as such, I think this one took a real DSLR camera.
You can never catch the moon with a regular phone.
I know. That's every time. You look at it and you're like, that's so beautiful. And then you point it right at the sky and you're like, nope. Yeah, we're going to skip over this one. As Netta and Eric mentioned, still a bit of snow there across the mountaintops. This is that live look out at Mount Laguna right now. A little bit of a breeze across the mountains, and it looks like into the next several hours that will expand toward your inland valleys, and that is why a wind advisory is taking effect. So that took effect 9 minutes ago. Will continue all the way through 4 p.m. and then expire, but keep in mind localized gusty winds will be possible between now and about your upcoming Saturday before we move back to an onshore flow that will bring our coastal temperatures down quite a bit. Now, when we look at where we're at right now, 72 is what we're going for today. 70 along your inland valleys. Telltale sign of those gusty Santa Ana winds is that your coastline is going to be warmer than your inland valleys. Plenty of sunshine through and through. Expect that gusty Santa Ana winds already picking up as we speak. They're from the northeast. You can see the double-digit speeds across your mountaintops for the most part. Booker Hill, 35-mile-per-hour gusts, 34 in Alpine, 20 at Mount Laguna, and 27 at Boulevard. And into the afternoon, those winds will start to push close closer to your inland valleys and your coastline. Looking at the next 12 hours, it is a chilly start to the morning. When we go into the next 30-40 minutes or so, we could drop by maybe a degree or two, but right now we're at 46 degrees. We're expected to make it to about 51 by 8 a.m. and then just jumping once that sun really comes into full frame. We'll make it to the 60s by 10 a.m., upper 60s by noon, and maybe even low 70s in that time frame. These temperatures for this afternoon are about 5 to 10 degrees warmer than yesterday afternoon. So dry, warm, gusty, albeit, and that'll be for today all the way through your upcoming Saturday with dry, sunny, warm conditions out there before we start to move back to that onshore flow, cooler temperatures with several rounds of low pressure swinging in and bringing us a good chance of wet weather for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday of next week. Stay tuned for that 8-day for more on it. Let's take a look at what's going on in traffic as we start off now your 6 o'clock hour. So there are a couple things that I do want to take you to. First off, we of course earlier Dana Marie is of course on scene where that officer involved shooting has taken place. So we're keeping you up to date on what happened there, but Dana Marie has the latest on those road closures. I want to take you though to a crash that we are still seeing some small backups on. This is on the 125 as it meets the 94. It looks like there was a crash in that area closer to about 5:30 this morning. This is the La Mesa area. Right now, no major backups or delays, but again, we do believe this is a non-injury crash, which means all parties are safe, and we'll of course keep you up to date on if we see any changes this morning.